I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
This is Barbara Barrigan-Perea with Delta Flows, a radio show by the Voice of Stockton and Restore the Delta. This is the weekly radio show where we discuss everything Delta related: the environment, water management, water quality, farming, history and culture, public events, recreation, Delta food, and the arts. Tune into Delta Flows on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at KXVS Radio.
This is Darius Oliver, and you're listening to 92.1 KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Good morning, Stocktonians, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tales and Tips. I'm privileged today to have with me two associates of the Discovery Challenge Academy. We have Chief Matthew Reece and Cadet Jonvante Summers, and we'll be talking to them about everything Discovery Challenge, that's NG Academy. And in just a few minutes, we'll be talking with them. I did want to give a couple PSAs. I want to remind all of you to please come on Saturday, April 7th, and join us for the Fire Bowl. That's right, you heard it. The Fire Bowl, that's at Pacific Bowl. And that's an event starting at 10 a.m. to help our local firefighters relocate their memorial. It's $50 a person to bowl. Teams of 5. You can sign up at Eventbrite under Fire Bowl, and that's sponsored by the Stockton Host Lions. And once again, that's to help our local firefighters to relocate their memorial. I also wanted to remind you that Earth Day is coming up Sunday, April 22nd at Victory Park, and that event will start off with the Science Walk at 10 a.m. And remember to love your Mother Earth. Every day is Earth Day. And let's come back and talk about Discovery Challenge Academy. Thank you for being here, both of you. And we'll start with Chief Matthew Reece.
Hello.
Take it away.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
And talk about your association with Discovery Challenge Academy. Talk about the NG, which I just learned about this morning. I'm all excited about that. And how long the facility has been there, what it does, where it is.
Yeah, of course. Again, thanks so much for having us. I'm joined by Cadet Summers. He's one of our current cadets in the program, and I'm going to insert him a lot into the conversation today. Class 3. So the Discovery Challenge Academy, and yes, we emphasize the NG in our title. Challenge has the N and the G capitalized because it is run by the National Guard. The Discovery Challenge Academy, we started here in California back in 1998. But this is a national mission. And a lot of times people ask us, why do we exist? Why is somebody in the military talking about at-risk teens who are not going to graduate high school on time, students who are involved in drugs or in gangs? Why are we concerned with the high school dropout rate? And really that's because back in 1993, United States Congress determined that the dropout rate was a domestic crisis. And for any domestic crisis, especially here in the state of California, you have a very robust National Guard to take care of you here at home. So figure wildfires.
Which is awesome. We're fortunate to have that.
Of course. Floods, earthquakes, you name it. I can actually recount just a couple months ago during the Tomas fire. We had hundreds of National Guard soldiers deployed to those fires to really serve the citizens right here in the state of California.
Wow.
So back in 1993, when Congress said, hey, this is a domestic issue, the National Guard took charge, and from that point in 1993, we grew from just one program to now we're 40 programs in the nation, and there's 3 right here in the state of California. So we are the newest. We've been at the Sharp Army Depot in Lathrop, California, since actually January of last year, and that was Class 1. We started on January 14th, 2017, with 140 students. Since then, they graduated. We started another class 147 students started class 2. They graduated, and here we are for our third class here. We currently have 126 students on ground. 31 of those are females.
Awesome. And these are students that you mentioned earlier might have gotten into some trouble, but they want to change their lives. They want a new direction, which is amazing. How do the students find out about this program, and how do they apply for it?
Yeah, great question. So I will tell you that I don't necessarily recruit cadets or recruit students into the program. I recruit stakeholders. The majority of my stakeholders are high school counselors. Students, they get behind in credits for a number of different reasons. I'm lucky enough to sit on 8 truancy boards throughout multiple counties in our state. I serve Madera to the Oregon border, so I have 39 counties in my region that we support.
It's a big area.
The majority of those students, however, are right here from San Joaquin County. So 50% are from San Joaquin County for this class alone. However, if you look back to class 1 just a year ago, 70% of our students were from San Joaquin County. So we do have a very large footprint here. So a number of the students, again, a couple of the requirements to join the academy are they must be either behind in credits or not going to graduate on time. Now,
so they're all seniors, or can they be younger?
16, 17, and 18 years of age is who we recruit. Okay. So as long as they're 16 on or before the first day of the next class, so for instance, we start our next class on July 15th. As long as their 16th birthday is on or before that date, they're eligible for the program. And as long as they don't turn 19 before that date, then they're still eligible for the program. So they could actually turn 19 within the program. But there's a lot of other risk factors that go into qualify why someone would not graduate on time. Truancy is a big factor in that. If a student's not going to school every day, they're not earning the credits to graduate on time. If there's other risk factors, such as drugs and gangs, and maybe even just a negative environment, either at home or in the neighborhood, that causes a student to get behind and not graduate on time. Those are all the students that we look to provide this opportunity to. However, this is not something that can be forced by parents. It's not something that a judge can say, you need to be sentenced to attend this program. Every single student, including Cadet Summers here, made a conscious decision to say, you know what, I've tried something for the last 16, 17, or 18 years, and that's not working for me. And I'm willing to make a change, and I want to change my life. So we kind of gauge their commitment throughout the application process, which is, I would say, a pretty long process to even get into the academy.
Well, and I definitely want to talk about that and what's involved. And there's 2 things that you mentioned that I'm passionate about. Education to me is such a critical issue, and many people are aware that our 3rd graders are almost 10% the national average for reading, and truancy is actually up this year. And it's scary because the children are going to be the future of our society, and we need to do things to turn that around. And so it's exciting that we have this program, even though it's only been in existence a little over a year. It's going to make a huge change in our community and beyond. And I was amazed to hear how many of these exist. And it's awesome to me that we're on our 3rd class, and I know you said you're already recruiting for class number 4. Let's talk about the whole process of how a student applies. And I know you mentioned the age qualifications, but talk about some of the others and what the whole process is, how long it takes for a student to go from, I want to think about doing this program, to, oh, I'm in the program and we're starting with boot camp.
Yeah, great question. So I'll start. So as the section chief, I'm the section chief for the recruiting, placement, and mentoring department. Those are all intertwined because, again, like I said, we recruit stakeholders more so often. I have 11 employees or 11 soldiers, professionals that work in my department that will go out to communities, that will go out to high schools, talk to truancy officers, probation officers, even judges, to educate them on the program. And now that truancy officer, that counselor, that judge, whoever it may have a young man or a young woman in mind. So, Cadet Summers, how did you hear about the program?
Well, I heard it from a graduate last year. It was last class, or I think class 1. DJ Turney, he told me about it. Right. And then my brother's keeper, I don't know if you heard about that. Dr. Gale, right, yeah. He told me about it too, and I was like, wow, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try this, because I was slacking my sophomore year at Lincoln High School. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's try something different, and then I applied, which was really a long process.
Was it scary or exciting?
I'll say both, because when we had the first of our first time going there, it was like at the office of So they was yelling at us, and I'm like, man, I don't know about this one. But then once you finally get into it, you're like, okay, now I'll get the point. It's a science to it, you know?
And I'm sure there's lots of discipline involved, but I guarantee you that the people that are there genuinely care and want to see you succeed.
Definitely. And it's funny what he just mentioned, that he found out about the program from a graduate. The beautiful thing about being in Class 3 and now recruiting for Class 4 is, as we look at the applications and we look at the interviews that we hold with the students, we ask them how they found out about the program. And I'm seeing more and more them saying, I saw a friend of mine go through the program that I knew before, and they were not doing the right thing, and now I see them. And the cadet that he's referencing, the graduate, is currently, he actually just finished his advanced individual training in the United States Army, and he's a medic. So he made the decision to join the military. That's not something that we necessarily push. We want them to have options after the academy. Education is paramount. I have to do the plug here, because our program would not exist without the San Joaquin County Office of Education. This is a partnership. And I'll tell you why that partnership is so important. Because in California, our 3 programs are 3 of just 19 of the 40 that even offer high school credits or a high school diploma at the end. So these are professional, credentialed teachers from the San Joaquin County Office of Education that are providing, I would say, excellent, I'll let him speak for himself, but I would say excellent education, these opportunities to get 65 high school credits in just 5 months.
Wow.
That is a year's worth of high school credits that is able to either catch a student up to where they're able to graduate if they were not on track to graduate before, sometimes graduate on time with their class, but sometimes graduate early, just like Cadet Summers here, and we'll talk about more of that. But this partnership is so paramount, because these teachers, they've taught for years and years in either public schools, private schools, the San Joaquin County 1 programs through the County Operated Schools and Programs Office. And so these are veteran teachers that all of them, they had a choice, and they made a choice to come to our program. That's Same with our soldiers. Not one of our soldiers was stationed at the academy. None of us have to do our time in youth programs. We truly sought these jobs out, and we applied for them. And a lot of times had to do an Army board interview process a couple of times over to get the positions we're in. So, but the fact that he said I was recruited by a graduate, my commanding general, Brigadier General James Gabrielli, he is a firm believer that it takes a cadet to recruit a cadet. Nothing I say, nothing I do, a 30-something-year-old white guy talking to, talking to a young man of color or a young woman who knows a struggle that I'll never know. There's nothing I'll be able to relate with them. I can try to level with them and give them the opportunity, but when a cadet who has literally been in their shoes, who has gone through their same school system, who is a product of Stockton, when they are able to tell them what successes they've had, it kind of gives them that light at the end of the tunnel. Because I'll be honest, Julie, we're asking a 16, a 17, or an 18-year-old to leave everything they know to be comfortable.
Everything they know.
Their cell phones, their social media, mom's home cooking, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, you name it, for 5.5 months. And to qualify that for you is an average soldier, so a soldier who joins the United States Army leaves for 8 weeks for basic combat training. And then their advanced individual training is usually another 8 to 14 weeks after that. So we're asking them to leave for 22 weeks, and they're 16, 17, or 18 years old. And I'll tell you what, and we'll talk more about the homesickness here in a couple of minutes, but, the fact that these students even get through the first 2 weeks, I have so much respect for them, because that, that's a lot more than, the average student or what they were doing prior would show for, Did you show up to school every day?
Yes, sir. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you did?
It was, oh, wait, no.
Before the academy.
Right, yeah. For the academy, I was slacking my sophomore year, and I was not doing so good.
Was it boring, or did you not see the value in it, or?
Well, it was just the point. It got kind of hard, and then that's the point when, like Chief Reece, I started to give up a little bit when it gets hard, and then I was like, okay, I know about this. School is probably I can do something else. Try something else. But that's not the point. You need your education. That's the most major thing in your life, right? Knowledge.
Cool. Yeah. And how powerful was it for you to see a friend of yours turn his life around?
It's crazy. I went to one of My Brother's Keepers meeting because I was part of it when and then so he showed a picture of DJ graduate from basic, and I was like, that's crazy. He went from Discovery Challenge as a junior and graduated there, and now he's enlisted, and now he's doing his thing, making money, you know?
That's awesome.
Right, serving our country. And I'm just like, that's where I want to go.
Good. That's awesome. Right. That's huge.
Yeah. So the doctor that he's referring to is actually, so yes, he's a part of My Brother's Keeper for Stockton, but he also stepped up to be a mentor in our program, and he was a mentor for Cadet Turney. I get almost emotional talking about it because every student in my program has to have a mentor. Now, traditionally, cadets will have known their mentor. It's a family friend, it's an uncle, it's an aunt, it's a pastor, it's a community leader. But I have a small percentage of homeless youth and foster youth that really come to us with nothing, with no resources, with just the shirt on their back, with no positive influences in their life. Wow. And so we have a pool of mentors that we continue to build, and we're going to continue to build it because that's just showing a young man or a young woman who has had no support for years and years prior that there's somebody that's never even met them that's willing to step up and say, you know what, I may not be able to relate with you on so many things, but I'm going to at least try to level out with you and provide you the support that you need during the program, because the mentors show up 4 times during the 5.5 months, and we give them the option of a Saturday or a Sunday to make it more convenient for them. And then they also help us follow up with the cadet in the what we call post-residential phase.
That's awesome.
Because I'll tell you right now, I can recruit hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, and they can cross the graduation stage. But if it stops there, we're not fulfilling our mission.
Yeah.
Our mission is to intervene in and reclaim the lives of California dropouts. You can't just do that for 5.5 months and then send them back to their same exact environment for however long after. So we have a year of post-care. It's the post-residential action plan that they set during the academy. They're setting their goals. They're setting their plans, but they have a case manager on my team, a social worker, a mentor, counselors, all lined up to say, hey, these are your goals. What are you doing to stick to them?
That's awesome. And so they have a huge network of support.
They do, and we don't go away, And I'll be honest, I have a very small recidivism rate back to the juvenile justice system. Less than 1% from our 3 classes here have returned back to the juvenile justice system.
Great.
That doesn't mean that I go away. I have a young man right around the corner in the JJC, and I visit him once a week because we made that vow. We took an oath, we don't just go away because of a choice that they made. Our job is to now build from that and say, okay, that was a choice. What can we do to fix it, and what can we do to get you out of that environment and out of that circumstance?
Which is awesome. And talk more about the mentorship. You and I had talked about that, and I'm planning to be a mentor. Can you talk about, for our listeners, more about the role of a mentor and how someone can become a mentor if they're interested in doing that? Great
question. So I'll start by, who's your mentor, Summers?
Staff Sergeant Brawley. She's a recruiter for Stockton, our Army. Mm-hmm. So, do you mind if I answer the question?
Yeah. Did you know her prior? Or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I did. Right. And I just wanted to say that, because when you're going through the process, because you go through acclimation phase and red phase, and then those are really tough times. It is physical and mentally, and you just need that one person to just come and just, you can eat with, regularly, you can talk with, how's this going, how's this, that going. But there's going to be some rules. But, you just get to talk, and just see how's everybody doing, and just check with them and see how's the society going or whatever. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's very super good.
Yeah. So
I sure needed it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. So the mentor signs up, and again, they could have known the student prior, which is great. But if they don't, they sign up, and we basically keep their application on file until we find a student from their area, because we try to have the students within a 50-mile radius of where they live. Because again, that post care, we want to make sure that there's somebody in their backyard to really help them and cross over the hurdles. So they sign up, and they, again, if it's just in the mentor pool, they'll have their application on file. And then if we call them, we say, hey, we have this young man or this young woman that, they have no one. They've tried everything to find a mentor, and they are coming up with nothing. Would you be willing to be this mentor? And then they show up. The first time the cadets get to see their parents is 10 weeks into the program.
Wow. Wow.
The first time they see their mentor is 6 weeks into the program. We kind of take away the parental or the family component while they're at the academy, because we want to teach them, number one, the standard. He kind of went over the acclimation phase and red phase. So I'll talk about acclimation phase, which is the hardest 2 weeks of the program. The first 2 weeks is where we get them acclimated to become a cadet. During that time, they're able to get mail from home and mail from their mentors with the positive, uplifting words of encouragement. But I tell you what, when they show up on day one, they show up, we actually call it day 0 when they show up. And everything is nice and it's all calm and it's easy. And then they go to bed at like 7:30 p.m., I think, really early. And then they wake up at 4 something, I won't give it away, but 4 something in the morning, the very next morning, and they wake up to loud whistles and yelling and, cadre yelling, saying do push-ups and do sit-ups and do all that, right? Sure. That takes a toll on somebody that just signed up for this program. So part of my recruiting mechanism was I'm out there talking to students about the program. I unsell the program before I try to sell it. I tell them that this is going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your life. You're going to have early morning wake-ups and you're going to be in bed by 8:30 every night. You're going to have to get used to this, because if I say you're going to have so much fun, you're going to meet the best friends in your entire life in your platoon, you're going to see a helicopter up close. On day 1 at 4 something in the morning, when they wake up, they're going to say, where's my best friend? Where's the helicopter? This is crazy. I don't want to be, right? So I really try to be very transparent with the students and the parents as well, telling them this is where your student's going to live for 5.5 months. I want you to come in and see the barracks. I want you to meet the staff, because the parents they're trusting us with their baby. I mean, picture your mom when she dropped you off. Was there tears?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
There was tears.
I got dropped off with my brother, and he was crying.
He was crying.
Cry. Yeah.
So that's the first 2 weeks of I tell you what, workouts every day, all day. We tell them where to go, when to go, how fast to go. They have to ask for permission to speak, permission to move, sometimes permission to breathe. Seems like, no, just kidding. So it's extremely hard. So that's the first 2 weeks. But then there has to be a reward at the end of that. So we do the the acclimation phase ceremony to red phase. We go down to the USS Hornet in Alameda, and that, I'll be honest, with some of my students from inner cities, from Stockton, from South Sacramento, where I'm from, they have never been on a boat before. They've never seen the San Francisco skyline. And these are all things that I take for granted. I try to be well traveled when I get a day off here and there. But you get a group, not just 1 or 2. You get a group of young men or young women that have never seen the San Francisco skyline, and that to me, it's just one more achievement for us, showing them something that they may have never seen before.
Expanding their lives.
100%. So we do that. They earn this uniform, if you can see it. Their name is worn proudly on their uniform with challenge, the American flag, our DCA patch. They earn their red phase bracelet. Every phase has a title of the phase. Red phase is integrity. What does integrity mean?
To do the right thing when nobody's looking.
Okay. Then, so since then, there's been another accomplishment. They've, as a platoon or as an academy, phase to white phase. With every phase, they get more privileges, but they also get more responsibility. So white phase, the title is courage, right? Courage to be you, courage to be a part of a team, courage to perform, courage to graduate. And the last phase, when they get to it in about a month, if they earn it, right, is going to be blue phase. And blue phase is honor. And that honor will carry out with them past the graduation stage and into the post-residential phase. So, some of the privileges, I know it sounds crazy and we take it for granted, but like red phase, they get salt and pepper with their meals, which is great. White phase, I think we authorized hot sauce, which is great for chimichanga night. So it really works out. But there's also responsibility. So at the very beginning, it's the cadre. My military staff members, there's 42 of us. Military staff members that are leading the way, saying, you go here, you go here, you go here. Well, then in red phase, we're still doing that, but we're kind of giving them a little bit more leeway, and they don't have to necessarily ask for permission to, stand up and things like that anymore. They can actually sit down during red phase. Right. But in white phase, now they've kind of elected a platoon guide, which is a cadet that is in charge of up to 50 other cadets. And it's their job to meet all the time hacks. It's their job to make sure their platoon has all of the supplies that they need using their resources that they have. And then they report to cadre if there's any deficiencies. Cadre, of course, is still there. It's 100% supervision at all times. But then the next phase is blue phase. And when I tell you what, cadre kind of take a couple steps back. And the cadets are really just leading the way, and they're holding themselves accountable. They're holding their entire platoon accountable. So every student in my program will be a leader. They will have led up to 50 other young men or young women. And again, being accountable for all the time hacks, being accountable for all the supplies. They're leaving this academy with mid-level management experience.
That's awesome.
For a 16, 17, or 18-year-old to put that on a resume and to put references, us writing letters, to show what they've done. These recommendation letters that from a chief warrant officer looks okay. My boss, she's a major. That's way better, right? I mean, how many 17-year-olds do you know that have a major as a reference or writing an LOR?
That's awesome.
So they're leaving here with a full resume as well. A beautiful thing, and this is something that I really want to share with all of you listeners, is service to community. Every student in my program will get at least 40 hours of service to community. And I want you to notice how I say service to community and not community service. Because I'll be honest, the first thing I think of when I hear community service is the inmates on the side of Highway 5 on my way to work cleaning up garbage. And I promise all of you parents and listeners, we will never have the cadets on the side of the freeway cleaning up garbage. However, I want you to think of the amazing opportunities here in Stockton and San Joaquin County. We have the Public Safety Fair coming up, which we're going to be at to support Rosie Calderon of Stockton PD. Hi, Rosie. We're going to be out there helping set up and tear down. We're going to have an information booth. We want to be a part of this community because this is where, again, the majority of my students come from. When we're doing...
we were at the ribbon cutting for Lord's Gym.
Yes,
which was awesome.
Oh my gosh, that was an amazing event. And
they were here last week.
What's crazy is I take a young man. I select these students from Stockton to come to these events. And Cadet Mancha, man, I take him there. He was like a local celebrity. He has family that's worked with Lord's Gym in the past and all this stuff. And it was like, can you stop? I'm supposed to be the local celebrity. But we get him out in the community. We have the Public Safety Day coming up. We have the bicycle workshop coming up, so we really try to implant ourselves, especially with Stockton PD, who's doing an amazing job of referring students to us. Because I tell you what, the law enforcement, right, the juvenile justice system, they could very easily lock up students in juvenile hall. They could easily send them to camp. But a lot of our law enforcement officers, which is really to the leadership of Chief Jones, I tell you what, and also the line officers out there that I meet with every day, and the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department as well, I'm saying there has to be a better answer. A mistake when you're 14, 15, 16 years old should not follow you for the rest of your life. And whether it's the stupid truancy things or what I find most, driving without a license, kids stop doing that, right? There could be a very harsh consequence for those actions, but they say, you know what? Let's get them away from the environment for 5.5. Let's think of something that will really benefit these students. So they get these service to community hours. And what I love to see about that is these kids have like the biggest smile on their face. Number one, because they're away from the academy. Number two is because they're out there, they're giving back to their community. And hopefully we hope that will carry on when they go back to their communities as productive citizens. So they realize, hey, I have a younger brother or sister, and when the park is littered with graffiti and garbage, whose job is that to clean it up? Are we going to rely on the city or the county or the state? And then I say, have you ever been to the DMV? Just kidding, DMV, it's gotten better. But we really want to encourage them to go out there and do that for their communities, And the beautiful part of it is it sometimes sparks something, but sometimes we also have cadets like Cadet Summers here who has always wanted to get into public service. And he's, he comes in and he's like, I'm going to run for office one day and I'm going to do this.
It's awesome to hear. It's great. It's wonderful. It's exciting.
Yeah. So that's part of that post-residential action plan as well. So we're going to help him refine his plan. He mentions college, he mentions public service, he mentions all, but now we're going to kind of put on a roadmap what it's going to take to get there. As well as anybody else that elections and running for office and putting your name in the hat and things like that, it's hard work.
It's a lot of work.
So we want to link him up with individuals that have done it. We want to link him up with people who can say, you know what, I did not get to where I am just based on a silver spoon or based on things handed to me. Every single person in this world has known a struggle, and that struggle is significant to them.
And people have helped them along the way. It's not just their achievement. It's people along the way supporting them or telling them, do this, do that.
Exactly. So you mentioned college. What are you thinking college-wise? What do you want to study? Where do you want to go? What's your dream?
Well, I wanted to start out with something small first, like a JC or whatever.
Where at?
Let's see.
Would you go to Delta?
Probably Delta.
Hi, Delta.
But
Delta is great. Delta is a wonderful place to start. Really wonderful staff, beautiful location, and the class sizes are small. As someone who's gone to initial classes at UC Davis where you've got 500 people in a class, Delta is amazing because you might have 30 to 60 people in a class.
Right. And study political science. And then, probably some other stuff like law or something,
Awesome.
And
Humphreys Law School is here too, in town, conveniently located.
That's right. Now, are you in the college cohort? Sorry for interrupting. Are you in the college cohort?
I'm not. I'm trying to get it with Shark Cotton.
I'm going to fix that.
Okay,
so that's another thing. We have a college cohort partnering with Delta College to provide our graduating seniors with college credits as well. So starting in April, we're going to take them over to Delta College once a week, and they're going to get college credits for the introduction to auto mechanics. And what's beautiful about that is I have, about 5 females in the class as well. And they're like, Chief Reece, like, what? How come we can't do culinary? How come? I said, well, if nothing else, right? If you don't be a mechanic one day, at least when you go to the auto repair shop, you know what you're talking about. You know what they're talking about, right? But it's, again, opening those doors, those opportunities that, who knows, one of our cadets may say, you know what? I love fixing cars. I tell you what, in experience in the car business, I can tell you that auto mechanics can make a lot of money. Oftentimes the auto mechanics will even make more than the service manager, sometimes even more than service advisors, if they are productive and efficient. So, but again, opening their minds to more opportunities and things that they may have never considered before. But the cool thing is when I have students with a plan, it's much easier to support them. And it's much easier to link them with the individuals and say, you want to go down this route, meet with this person, this person, this person. But if I have a kid that comes in, I have no idea what I want to do. That's okay.
A challenge.
But that just means my case managers, my social worker need to kind of be on the ball and say, okay, well, what are you good at? Or what do you like? And we get the kids like, I'm going to be in the NFL. Okay. Are you good? Right? That's the key, right? It's, are you good? And then what do you have to do from there? But it is always a delight to work with students that have already an idea and a dream and a passion for, again, public service, which is huge, especially right here in Stockton. What we're finding is my talks with a lot of the leaders around here is the youth right now. Some of them think that success is getting out of Stockton, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then what happens to Stockton if that's the case? We had that conversation on the way here.
Yes, sir.
And he's like, I've walked these streets, every day prior to coming to the academy, and I see the needs, and if I just leave and never come back, those needs aren't met.
Nothing gets changed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
what kind of plea, Cadet Summers, would you like to make? Let's say one of our listeners is considering this program. Mm-hmm. What kind of plea would you make to them about how much it's changed your life and why they should do it?
I would say, because it changed me a lot since I came from January 13 to now, I would give them the best motivation ever to say, just come. Because when you come, it's basically, like you said, you give up your phone and stuff like that and your family and friends.
But it's doable.
Right,
you
exactly.
can do it.
Oh, yeah, it is. And you're going to lose some motivation. Everybody did. And then, but what it teaches you is to get back up and carry on, And then so I'll give that person to just come and let everything aside because it's going to do good for you, And you're below credits, you can graduate early like I'm doing.
All right.
Right. And just
that's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. And just like he said, my academy is not for everyone, and that's okay. And I think every time I go out and I speak to, one person, I speak to 500 people, and I always get the parents come up and say, this academy is for my student. My student needs this. My student, and I say, great. Have you talked to your student about that? This is where the conversation has to start. Once they get the information, whether the student gets it first or the parent gets it first, this is where the conversation has to start. Is, again, the academy cannot be forced on anyone, even though mom may really want it. The student has to be the one to say, I need a change for myself. So the application process. There is a paper application just because...
How do they get that?
So if you go to www.iamdiscovery.org, you can download the application there. You can sign up for an orientation. We have all of our orientations posted. I would select the soonest one just because I run out of spots. There is a huge need. And I serve, again, 39 counties in my service area, and I can only accept 100 males and 50 females. And I know the question is always going to come, how can you select less females than you do males? And I'll be honest with you, if you bring me a female, I will recruit them. And if you bring me 100 females, I will get them in the academy, and I'll only take 50 males, because 50 females right now, we always start with less, but we don't get the female applications as much as we get the male applications. I will say that females have to fight a little bit harder to come to the academy. And what I mean by that is it's less likely for a parent or guardian of a female 16 or 17 or 18-year-old to say, yes, you can go live in this strange place I've been to twice for 5.5 months. Whereas males, they hear quasi-military and they push them towards it. But I tell my boss, and I tell you what, Brigadier General James Gabrielli is a mentor of mine, but he truly believes that students must come first, no matter what. Staff is always second, and we're all okay with that, because we also, so that leadership from the top down is amazing. But what I'll say is, he always says it takes a female to recruit a female as well. But I tell him, sir, if I get 100 females, I would, because they are the most resilient, they are the loudest, they're better at PT. Their sleeping barrack smells the nicest.
He's not disagreeing with you.
I tell you what, they are dedicated. And to show that is, right now we're at a 95% retention academy-wide. And of course we have more males than females. I've only lost one female. Only one female has left the program, whereas 5 males have left the program. So my retention will always be higher with that female platoon, always. And it showed class 1, class 2, now class 3. I will always have the highest retention, because I truly believe that females are more resilient, and they will work through a number of different obstacles. So, but the males also do great, and you can see that. So what was your grade point average prior to Discovery?
It was about 2.9.
2.9. What is it now?
4.0.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's huge.
And that's
phenomenal.
That's only part
in 2
of the
months.
success.
Yeah. In 2 months' time.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned the website. What about for people that don't have computer access? Is there a phone number they can call?
Yep. So 1-844-633-3301 is our 1-800 number.
Can you say that again?
Yep. 1-844-633-3301. We have both Spanish and English speaking soldiers that will answer any of your questions.
Great.
And it really, if you're interested as well, I would even talk to your high school counselor. If you're in school right now, or parents, if you go to your student school, chances are their counselors have heard about the program, especially if they're in San Joaquin County. And now the next step is just getting them to an orientation. So again, if the website imdiscovery.org is not an option, our phone number 844-633-3301. You could sign up for the next orientation. But we have to keep the students engaged during the application process, because we don't start until July 15th. There is months, lots of weeks between now and July 15th. So what we've started doing as well is what we call PT in the Armory, and that's a weekly thing, and we do it in our the largest areas where we get students from. So in Stockton, we do it every other week at the Stockton Armory, where people are able to come out if they're in the application process or if they're a graduate of the program, and just do some PT, some good old-fashioned workouts with our cadre. It's a less stressful environment. It's just an opportunity to work out. Selfishly, I stole that from the Marine Corps. Years ago in the 70s and 80s, the Marine Corps would recruit Marines, and then, they're all high and mighty. I'm a Marine now, but they haven't left for basic training, so they get into a fight at a bar. And joking, I don't think that ever happens anymore. But they created the Poolie program, and it's basically to keep their recruits engaged during the application process until they ship. So I totally stole it from them. But what we see, though, is if they attend 3 or more of those, they're so far 100% likely to finish the entire program. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to increase those opportunities, having it once a week, both in Stockton, Sacramento, also in the Bay Area, because that's where we get the majority of my students from, but definitely here in Stockton. So the application process, once you turn in the application, it will go to be reviewed to make sure that it's a right fit, to make sure the student wants to be here. There is an interview as a part of that, where my counseling staff will interview the cadet, and really the questions are not to disqualify a student. They're to find out how we can better serve them during the academy. We want to make sure that if there is any history of drug abuse, if there's any history of trauma, which is highly likely in our generation right now, if there's any history of stress or anxiety, things like that, we want to find out how we could better serve them during the academy. So we do have counselors on staff. But I will say that it's not a therapeutic environment. It is stressful. It is, they're living alongside 50 other personalities.
Right.
Do you get along with every single person in the platoon? No.
Sir.
Is there anybody at the beginning that you did not get along with that now you do?
Oh, yes, sir. I say all the
Yay.
So there's growth.
Wonderful.
There's growth, but it is stressful. But we want to make sure that, they have every
it's a good
opportunity.
Stress. It's a positive stress moving in the right direction.
It is. And again, thinking about everything they're getting, 65 high school credits, for over 40 hours of service to community, life skills, job skills, leaving
letters
with a full resume, letters of recommendation, you name it. And also the support that they get after the academy. And just because we track the metrics for a year after doesn't mean that 2 years down the road he comes back and says, hey, I need help finding a job, or I need help reading. Great. Once a cadet, always a cadet. We fundamentally believe that.
They're getting a support system. They're getting belief in themselves, too, that they can do it and they can make a difference.
Oh, my God. Before coming to the academy, do you think you could be doing a radio show with Dr. Damron?
No, man.
I mean, this is high-level stuff. But these students, and on Thursday, later this week, he'll have the opportunity to talk to a Congress member, and we have, assembly members, That's another thing, too, is we're funded 75% by the federal government, 25% by the state. And that's a state match. So unless we get that state match year after year, we will not get our federal funding. The beautiful thing is we have support on both sides of the aisle because truly this is a bipartisan issue. The dropout rate in our youth is a bipartisan issue. So we're lucky enough to have Jerry McNerney on the federal side, Jeff Denham as well. Jeff Denham and Jerry McNerney have both been out to our program and are full supporters. We also have Assembly Member Susan Talmenta-Segman. She, District 10, she not only did she fight for us to be here, because I'll tell you what, we were supposed to be in Sacramento as of like 6 years ago, but, San Joaquin County, the Valley needed this, so
definitely, hugely.
Oh, yeah. So she fought for it, but she also put in an assembly bill to get us additional funding because it does cost more.
And she has military service. She's a veteran.
Yep. And she's a master social worker. She's a social worker as well. So she understands the needs of the community. So she fought to get additional funding, and she did because it does. Again, it costs more money to start a program than it does to maintain one. But she got that funding for us. And she's been out as well, and she's been to our graduations, So
we should thank her. Everyone should give her a shout out, especially.
Yes, definitely.
That's awesome.
But really the community, the relationships that I've built and that we've built with our community around us, I'll tell you what, when our Grizzly Academy started in 1998, they got pushback from the community. When our Sunburst Academy started in 2008, they got pushback from Southern California because the aesthetics, right? It's you have the majority young men of color in a uniform with military style. They think it's a scare straight program. They think it's a boot camp. Those are bad words in my program. We are the Challenge Academy, and we are challenging these young men and women
making lives
to better themselves. 100%.
And it's amazing. And to my knowledge, everyone that I've talked to in the community has had just positive, supportive, wonderful things to say.
And we feel it.
And I'm excited that you're here today. Thank you for coming and talking about the program. And I really appreciate both of you being here today. And I'm going to sign off. I am the voice of Stockton. You are the voice of Stockton. We are the voice of Stockton. Make it a great day.